format. It's called Mallstorm 2015. So let's get you energized as you put your hands together and welcome our panel on stage. Some of them are here, some of them will join during the course of the session. But please put your hands together for Benu Sehgal, Vice President, Mall Management, DLF. A warm welcome to Manoj Agarwal, Head Operations, Elante Mall, Chandigarh, L&T Realty. Mr. Munish Baldev, Head Retail, Unitech. Mr. Rajendra Kalkar, Senior Center Director West, the Phoenix Malls Limited. Sanjeev Khanna, Vice President Operations, In Orbit Malls. Mr. Sanjeev Mehra, Vice President, Quest Mall, CESC Properties. Mr. Shivu Phillips, Business Head, Lulu Mall. Sunil Munshi, Vice President Operations, Red Oak Retail and formerly General Manager, Orion Mall. Mr. Saim Imam, Vice President, Ashima Mall. And moderating the session, keeping the entire session up-tempo and engaging, please welcome your moderator, Mr. Yogeshwar Sharma, Executive Director. Ladies and gentlemen, it's over to Mr. Yogeshwar Sharma.
Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this session of the day. And I'm very happy to be a moderator with such a esteemed gathering. So thank you very much for joining. We'll start. This is a Mallstorm session, and as all of us know, that malls evolved in the last 10 years. So much so that we started with no malls at all in 2000, and then now we have some very good malls, some malls trying to do better, and some are reasonably good malls which are on international standards. So one of the person behind those malls is just walking in, and I'll ask him to join us. Come, Sanjay. Yeah, please come. So, all of us on this stage have been part of shopping centers for a very, very long time, except one, Mr. Sanjeev. He has recently joined from hospitality industry, but his learning is as good as our learning. And we'll start with Manoj. Manoj, you have been part of shopping centers for almost 10 years now. So what have been the learnings, and where do we go from here?
Yeah, I've been with the industry for some time. I think one basic learning which I was just sharing with the panel was that over a period of time, the model of shopping centers, the financial, customer, retailer, the experience, this model is now kind of out in the open. Everyone knows exactly what they're getting into from each dimension. So if you talk of the entrepreneurs, if you talk of the operators, if you talk of retailers, as well as customers. And I think now the focus is getting higher and higher into being able to woo the customer in the correct way and to be able to provide an experience which they remember and which they want to have in places where they visit in malls, and they would like to make sure that, once these experiences are there, then they would like to go to those places again and again, so that it's like a positive reinforcement. So a little bit of that hospitality angle is possibly coming in.
Yeah. Shivu, would you like to add on this?
Good morning. Good morning to all of you. Shivu, Lulu Mall. Yeah, as rightly Manoj said, when we started the shopping malls in, say, 2002, 2003 era, most of us were only looking at customers coming in, and we were talking about everything under one roof. I think everything was under one roof, giving million experiences to customers. Today, what is changed is we need to know our customer much better. In this era of e-commerce, every e-commerce site knows the customer's actions so nicely that they know what time does he actually have time to shop, when he shops, what does he shop, what are his preferences, colors, how he shops, and how much he spends. So when they have got into that personal with customers, I think it's high time that now malls also need to develop technology and systems to know our customers better. I think it's rather asking any mall how much footfall do you get, is to rather ask them all, how many customers do you know, very personalized, and how do you make them spend? So I think it's a job of both the mall and the retailer to know that, and I think it's that where both of us should join hands and do a bit. Second part of the whole thing is that when we started the mall, as I said, everything was a one roof. But now, because the concentration is more on experience, I think when the experience comes into factor, food and entertainment is making a lot of time is going to be spent there by the customer. So I think malls have to now understand and give a lot of space to, factors, areas for food. India earlier used to give 6% of the whole mall area, and our counterparts in the Asian countries are giving as high as 30%. I think now malls have increased that to 12%. I think there is a lot of space for that. So this is the new era. So these are the learnings.
So Sanjeev, coming to you, you have great learnings in shopping center industry. So are you happy with the progress we have made in last 10 years?
Yeah. First of all, I came from the retail side of things. So I always have a retailer's cap. Contrary to all the retailers who I meet, who always think that, but I always bat for them. I think there have been so many learnings that it is very difficult for us to actually put it in a session. I mean, you can take any topic and there are 100 different learnings. The great thing that we've managed to do is that our learning curve has been very steep. So if you see failures of malls, it's because we've had to learn very, very fast how the world has evolved as organized retail. To me, the two biggest changes and learnings that we've done is the kind of relationships today developers have with retailers. I think it's unbelievable that on the same stage, we were nearly going to scratch each other's eyes out a few years ago. And now we are in such deep partnerships, in discussions, that it is working like a joint business when we talk with retailers. So I think that has evolved. Maybe if you look at European or the American countries, it might have taken them a long time to do that. It's happened in a very short time. I think that is one thing extremely critical.
Very nicely put.
Second thing is the aspirations of the customer. I think the way we were shopping 10 years ago, the way we were shopping 5 years ago, the way we were shopping 3 years ago, and the way we are shopping today, it's, I mean, you know, if they say know your customer, as Shibu says, I never can know my customer. The customer is changing so fast, and I can't understand. He was saying we're 30%. I am telling you, in the malls that we are going to build now, you are going to give entertainment and food closer to 40-45%. If you don't do that, your mall is not going to be a community space. You're going to be thinking about other things outside the mall to make sure that it becomes a part of a community process. So I think the customer is very, very critical, and his aspirations. The first mall I did was South City, which was a premium mall, but it was not a luxury mall. Then we did a mass mall, and now with Quest doing luxury, I mean the customer, I mean the learning that I've had, it's unbelievable. The same person who was shopping 5 years ago and now he's shopping at Quest, I can't believe it's the same guy, and they are ready to splurge and they're going over the top and they're talking about experiences. So, you know, I think that is the great change that we've had in these two aspects.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. Very nicely put together. You know, the customer is changing so quickly, and I feel many times that customer is already there. It's we are falling short of giving him the experience he's already used to or is looking forward to. Welcome, Munish, on the stage. So, Sanjeev, would you like to add to this? What have been your learning inside and from outside of shopping center?
Well, you introduced me well. I'm very new in this whole panel, but I'm going to use my experience. I've been more of a customer till about a year back, and now I'm in this side of the vertical. While the malls are coming, while we've evolved, we all know the location is important. We have the best of architects available. We have the best of designers available. We know what zoning is. We know what the brand mix is. Everyone knows it. But in my business, if I need to get going as an organization, I need to find one differentiator. And according to me, since I come from the world of hospitality, and I think that differentiator would be changing that experience of the customer into an engagement, where he starts coming into my mall and he starts getting involved in that platform socially, while the DNA remains shopping, the DNA remains those stores, the food, the entertainment, the buying, the sale, whatever. But I think it's very important for me today to start creating that social platform so that it becomes a habit for that family to start coming in the mall. So we would look at elements, which enhance his senses, which could be the sound, the mood, the light, the vision, the colors. It could be the green areas where the families sit. It could be the water bodies. If it's a kid's store, as I was telling you a little earlier, I would rather have a kid's store which is very kid-friendly so that my little child can go, pull out the stuff, she or he picks up, and she goes to the counter and signs for the bill. She doesn't have to pay necessarily, but I'm sure that engagement or that involvement would go very long time. So my point here at this moment is that we need to maybe start looking at the shopper, which became customer and now I think is becoming a guest, to get him involved in your system, get him engaged into the system. That's what my thought is.
Coming to you, Bino, you have been part of 2 shopping centers, I believe?
Yeah, Yogesh.
Almost 10 years now?
Pardon me?
10 years now almost?
Yeah, almost 7.5 years.
7.5 years. So what have been your learnings, please?
See, I believe we have gathered here to see the mall of the futures. There are certain things, being a science student and also a bio student, there's certain things I relate, and I would like you to believe in the Darwin's theory. So this is now the ape is becoming human. Everything is evolving, so are the malls.
Little louder.
Everything is evolving, and so malls are also evolving. Evolution is something you can't deny. You have to keep improving. So there are certain basic things you should keep in mind. The retailer will always sell. No matter malls or no malls, the customer will always buy. Whether there are malls or no retail, that the customer will buy because the need is there, the retailer will sell because he has produced the produce. So where are you in between? You are the platform. So if you are not meeting the retailer's need and you're not meeting the customer need, you are nowhere. Think about engagement, think about cinema, think about anything. You have to be that bridge, that operating system. Like if you have a computer, you need the computer, but if you can use Macintosh, you can use any operating system, but you have, to do something to make it productive, you have to have an operating system, so you are that operating base. So you have to think like that and evolve. Now, when you are evolving like that, what have you realized? There's a new threat that has come up. So far, I was looking for ambience, I was looking for lighting, I was looking for providing my customer a good data bank, a good floor plate. I am making good shop fronts, I'm making the parking right. Yet there is a threat, a monster on the backside, that is the e-commerce which is coming like this. Now, how do I handle that? So put your thinking cap on. In my opinion, the future of the mall should be a marriage between brick and mortar and the click. So we should have somewhere where the stores should be encouraged to put that e-commerce within my property. There should be a huge wall. I foresee in my crystal wall that I give them a huge wall wherein my Zaras can be bought either from the brick and mortar or from my mall. From my wall. It's a big wall. You like this dress in pink? Okay, it is there in white, but go and check in that wall. You might find a pink somewhere and you can be here.
Sorry to interrupt. But who will get the revenue share?
Pardon me?
Who will get the revenue share?
Wait, I'm getting there also. I'm getting there also. In which case, my rentals should not be rev shares. Then my property demands a certain rent, and I foresee there are walls which can be converted into stores. This is a smart thinking. Think it over. Because if I don't do that, the retailer has to sell. If not from my wall, he will sell from some other wall. So he has to sell, and the consumer has to buy. If not from my mall, he will buy from your mall, Yogesh, but I have to get them to my mall. You understand? The pun intended. Yeah. So it has to be, you have to grab it. So in which case, my future mall should be a smart mall, like my smartphone, which was only texting, but now my smartphone is solving so many things. So that way, a mall is not a mall. It is not a market space. It is a community center. It is where you come. I go to office, I go home, which is the third place. This is that third place, whether I'm shopping, whether I'm drinking coffee, whether I'm having my meeting, I'm meeting my friend, I'm meeting my boyfriend, and shopping, it should be that place. So architects, techno engineers, think of evolving that way so that we can provide something. And of course, financials can be woven around that. This is what I think.
Thank you. Munish, would you like to add something? You have been part of Unitech for a very long time, Great India Place, and you have worked for Ansal Plaza, the first mall of the country. So what have been your learnings, and will you develop another shopping center? You are already doing one more, but do you foresee that you will be doing more shopping centers?
I hope so. We are doing, and I need a job to survive. So yes, we are doing. See, my learnings from Ansal Plaza till date is only then the fight was between the high street and the malls. Today the fight is between malls and e-commerce. The high street is still there. I hope with the e-commerce the malls will still remain there. I don't see this as a challenge. In fact, last time when we were having a discussion on this, in fact me and Yogesh, we found that the advantage is that, earlier as Unitech we used to see that okay, we'll only go to metro towns and state capitals while our expansion plan on shopping malls, which was our plan. But with this e-commerce, I think the brands are getting exposed to even smaller cities. So in fact, if you have to today do a shopping mall, you can target all the 526 odd districts which this country has. So I think with the e-commerce, the thing has become even more bigger. I think the brands which were not available in the small villages, I mean, if you see your drivers in these metro towns, they are also quite savvy on the internet. I mean, they access all these things. So I think the horizon with the e-commerce has only increased retail real estate. And even back in the US, they are the most stable, older markets. E-commerce is only 10% of the total value, and out of the 10%, 5% is owned by the offline retailers who do online. So and this also is a little dust. Let Amazon or Flipkart come out of that zone of giving away discounts. Today it's an outlet mall. E-commerce is nothing but an outlet mall today. And maybe nobody wants to save that. People say, you will save on fuel. You will say, who wants to save on fuel? You want to be in that crowd. You want to get touched and seen by people in the society. Otherwise, everybody will have a portal of his own and be operating from there. So that whole human touch is there. But I think very positively, e-commerce has, for retail real estate, I think it's only enhanced the exposure. And I think we should now target more smaller cities where the land is cheap, where we can afford to give all the retailers the so-called revenue share deals.
So, I mean, e-commerce is only proving the point that there is a consumption theory. People are ready to buy. If they have the choice and they have the convenience, they will definitely buy. Very nicely. Rajendra, coming to you, you have been working with a very successful mall. So, anything you want to add, your learnings?
A very good afternoon to all of you. Let's go back to 1970.
Just introduce yourself. I mean, a lot of people may not know.
I'm Rajendra Kalkar. I look after the western zone for Phoenix, which is the Phoenix Market City and High Street, Phoenix. So in 1970, when people used to shop, in a city like Mumbai, the preferred destination was Kemps Corner, Linking Road, Kolaba Market. In Delhi, it was Connaught Place, Sarojini Market, Lajpat Road, In Bangalore, it was Brigade Road, Residency Road. People used to throng those places for shopping. Everything new that came was first available at those places. Then the theory of evolution came in. We see the malls which started proliferating somewhere in late 90s. And in a span of 10 years, high street and malls had a big fight that who will survive. And then eventually the balance was somewhere, found that, okay, some brands, some business, some customers, all the shares got divided and everybody was very happy till to about the first decade of the 21st century. Then suddenly the e-commerce came in. And today everybody is talking whether, what will happen to malls, what will happen to retail, will it die, will customer go, will we have experience, all malls have to evolve, all customers have to evolve. So a lot of theories are floating around. One thing, what we are forgetting in all this dilemma, primarily maybe because you all are thinking only as developers and retailers, is, this sudden boom of e-com has brought the consumption story 5 years faster. What was expected to be the consumption in 2020 is the consumption in 2015. The avenue that a customer was expected to get in 2030, he's getting those avenues today. Supposing when we were looking at developing malls, tier 2 cities, we already have 2 malls, maybe one in Lucknow, one in Bareilly. We are thinking, when will we open our Varanasi mall? When will we open our Banaras mall? When will we open our Agra mall? Today, perhaps, those customers already have all these avenues. And in spite of that, we are thinking that, yes, maybe we should go ahead. I think this convergence of high street, malls, and e-commerce is a boon for consumer, for the industry, and I think for mall developers and retailers. Where can you find such a large consumption coming around? This is one good news which we are all not trying to understand. So I think it's a fantastic development, getting retail into the plate of everybody who wants to shop, whichever brands he wants to shop, based on his price parity of purchase, where he wants to invest his money. I think that's really fantastic.
Thank you very much. Sunil, your experience with Orion?
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. I think everybody's touched on the industry and all. So I think I'll share some of my personal experiences. Like he said, even I've been a retailer before this. So I think earlier the relationship was of a landlord and a renter. I think which now has changed. Now it is one team which work towards achieving more things. And I think as a mall, what I've seen in the mall, the difference that we need to make is in the experience. Though experience is a big word. In experience, I mean, how can we use technology to enhance the experience? So like we say, e-commerce site knows what time a customer shops, what color he shops. Do I know in my mall at what time a customer comes, which zone does he go in, which zone he doesn't go in? Can I do something to activate that zone? How can I push him towards that zone? How can I use technology to influence the buyers who are coming? The buyers are very technology savvy today. And I think that's something that we need to look at and work on and enhance his experience with technology.
Yeah. So sharing my experience a little bit, I also have an opportunity to share. So when we started the mall, we felt that a lot of customers were coming and we believed that we know our customers. And this theory of ours got failed miserably because when we want to call customers, they turn up or they don't turn up, we are not very certain. But when a retailer wants to invite his 100 best customers, they definitely come. For example, Mango as a brand calling somebody for a breakfast, a preview, fashion preview for breakfast. Those 100 women fully decked up in the morning, they will come. But as a mall, because we did not have a direct relationship with the consumer, so we didn't know. We felt that we know our customer, and in reality, it was not the case. For example, we started styling services, and we made a very nice podium. Everything was nice about it, except that nobody turned up. On the other hand, retailers, they know their consumer. So we realized this, that we are in a business where retailers definitely know more than us. They know their customers, and we also realized that I mean, like any other human being, there are pessimistic retailers, there are optimistic retailers, there are too optimistic retailers. So we have to have a judgment where we should rely and we should try to have a resonance with the retailer so that we all are trying to make money, should help. So one thing, everybody's talking about big data these days, no? Big data. Big data means that, no, there's so much data. All reports of the world are indicating the next big thing is analytics and big data. So any one of you would like to pick it up? Big data, I mean, there's so much of data available, there's so much of analytics available, but how to use that to our advantage? I'm also trying to learn this subject, and for example, 35,000 people come. It's a big data, but what do we make sense out of it is the question. So many people come, what are they doing? What are their shopping habits? So we have to use technology now. The next thing, because of the IT downturn, a lot of IT resources are available. And the easiest thing for them was to get into retail, create a website, and start selling. So IT, Sanjeev, do you feel that IT will play a very important role now?
I think that IT has always played a very important role. And if you go down and you talk to a dukandar, he's had his own way of getting his data. If you ask my father and you tell him a computer and all, he says, listen, bakwas hai, mereko ye sab fingertips mein pata hai. The thing which is changing now is that the consumers change very fast. And you're not able to adapt to that. So you need technology which can map that. You know, one thing very important what he said is, everybody is so fearful about e-com. I am not fearful about e-com at all because I've done e-com before I did retailing. And all they are doing is they are making people in the habit of consumption, which is the most integral part. This frugal living of Nehruvian culture is not in an Indian. We must believe that the guy wants to consume, and all the e-com is doing is taking the mall right to the guy's doorstep. He's going to shop once or twice there. The third time he's going to come into the mall. So he's actually doing our job. To me, I think it's fantastic what he's doing is growing the market. And that kind of data, now, you know, people who come to the mall, who's coming to the mall, what are they consuming? It's a very difficult thing. If you have 1 million people coming in every month, how are you going to map it? It's, you know, you'll be able to, okay, let's say this thing, that 20-30% of your customers are repeat customers for a retailer. So that means 70% of the customers are not. And they're ever changing. So whatever amount of data you put, it is going to be very difficult to map it. What you can always keep doing is keep it fresh, keep it exciting, and get people in the habit of consumption. Because do remember, America is the #1 economy in the world because it wastes a lot. If they stopped wasting, the world will collapse. That's what I believe. So you can only waste if you consume. So keep consuming.
Shivu, the next mall, what will be the different in the next mall you build?
Just coming back to the point, how can we know our customer better? Our learnings from Lulu was that when we started the mall, there were a lot of people who had put up the Facebook profiles of Lulu Mall and said that Lulu Mall is going to open on this day. And actually, we had not created that. There were around 8 of people who had created this profile, and they said that Lulu Mall is going to open with such a band going to play here, and we didn't do that. We knew that the entire Kerala was waiting for us, but we wanted to be sure about maximum occupancy, and then we did that. When we then created, put a social media in place, put all these Facebook pages, went to the Facebook and said, these are all not our pages, got it together. We started with around 30,000 people following us. And today we had 470,000 people following us in 2 years' time. And what we realized that when we are on that page and talking to these people on a daily basis, we are giving them gifts on a daily basis, we are running contests in that, we are talking to all of them. We are using that social media to update them about the latest movies which are releasing in the mall. We're talking to them about the latest discounts which are there in the mall, the latest fashion with the mall. And we are seeing that a lot of response is coming. We are getting youngsters parents, children coming to our office every day to collect their gift vouchers, that is where we understand that we know these customers. Because when they come to our office, we know them better. We knowing that some of the people are every day playing our games. Second thing, what we started that we do a lot of contests when we give away prizes. So we have now put a platform where customers can buy in a shop, go to this platform, fill in the details once, and automatically get the coupons, and it becomes, so then we get this database to know that these customers are coming and shopping. And every time there is something happening in the mall, we shoot a mass SMS to them. And we see that during the sales promotion last year in the month of July, this really helped. So I'm not saying that we can know a customer as better as what e-commerce guys are knowing, but at least we are now talking to our customers on a daily basis through Facebook profiles, through Instagrams. We see that whenever we do an installation in the mall, which might be a decor, it's being taken photographs by customers. It's there across every Facebook profiles, every Instagram profiles, WhatsApp. So everyone suddenly knows that there's something special happened in the mall. We got a dinosaur which was, really making the kids feel very happy. And we really saw, we just put it on the mall, and suddenly what was happening is the media covered it. It was there in all the papers. So how did it happen? We didn't inform the media. Why? What happened? Someone took the photographs, started sharing it. Suddenly it became a talk of the town. People started coming. Now there are children who come and tell us that, where is the dinosaur floor? So they ask like that. So that's what I'm saying, that we need to start talking to customers. Okay, now the question what you asked me is that what will we do better? Like I said, we now understand that, yes, shopping mall is a one place, everything under one roof. That was now I think more emphasis will be given on how to, entertain the customers better. So a lot of these points will be created in the mall where they can spend more time, like entertainment will have more areas, food will be having more areas. We'll also try to do what we normally in a mall do is we create events which are mass. We do not know, so we try to create, we'll try to start creating personalized events like what I just want to take a clue from what Mr. Suresh mentioned yesterday in the presentation, that when we do events, might be we give wireless headphones to customers in the atrium, so that the only people who are listening to those events are people who want to actually sit there and listen and rather not disturb the entire crowd around it. So I think personalized events, many malls have started creating this idea of Women's Wednesday. Many malls have started creating this idea of a family day out. Yesterday, Mr. Suresh also mentioned that we can start treating our mall like a resort where they come and do a lot of outdoor activities, indoor activities. I think all of these are great clues. Customers in India need a place to go and go out of their houses, of the cramped place where they live in. I think shopping centers will stay. The only thing is that we need to give a lot of areas. The common areas needs to be 11 meters, cannot be smaller. It cannot be blocked by kiosks. It needs to be bigger. The ingress and egress to the mall should be amazing. It cannot be only one in and one out. It has to be multiple in and multiple outs. The parking needs to be made bigger and better. It should be more cleaner. Like before us mentioned, security very important. So I think all of these factors needs to be put in. The mall should be more greener. We should not become the guzzlers of power, like it was there in Bombay around 4 years back. Malls were being blamed as all the reasons for the power shutdowns in Mumbai. So I think we should become more socially responsible. We should be a community property. Everyone should like to say that this is my mall. They should start talking about that. So I think these are the things which I will take care for the next property.
And just one more question. In terms of percentage, do you think food you mentioned that will take more space in the mall, or any other category which will increase and any other category which is going to decrease?
Basically, I feel, like yesterday, as the speakers mentioned, I believe that there will be little less space required for home and, might be books and all.
Okay, but in terms of food you may feel that you will go much higher.
Food will definitely, it will take much space. We have Lulu is a business from Abu Dhabi. We run hypermarkets. Currently, we run 122 hypermarkets. Our hypermarkets are 2 lakh square feet in size. We run 24 shopping malls in the Middle East. So this is the first time we got a hypermarket to Cochin. Our hypermarkets are 2 lakh square feet. We have a good food there. We sell cooked food and all the other type of food. So I think the entire option of food will be much, much bigger. And I think that's way to go.
Sanjeev, want to add?
We also have to keep in mind that the social changes which are taking place. You're not going to have servants. I've been saying this for quite some time, but now I'm experiencing it. And as we make more high rises and everybody lives in apartments, you're not going to have that. And cooking is going to be experience on its own. We are going to watch the food courts becoming where couples are going to come and have their food or take away. And as Thomas mentioned before, we've also got the Epic Cuisine. So things like that are going to happen. And dining out, already we are watching in Bombay, Bangalore, Delhi, etc., where people eat out more. And of course, even in Calcutta, we are watching where food courts are literally becoming places where people come and eat food. So I think you must understand that in Singapore, we have seen apartments no more with kitchens. So I think this is going to be a reality because your servants' children are no longer going to be servants. They're all computer programmers. So I think this is a reality, and that's a very big social change.
Thanks. Sanjeev, you would like to add to this?
Yeah, I think there's a very important social aspect of what my friend was saying here. We've seen high streets earlier happening. We were talking of brigades and we were talking of Indiranagar or CP or whatever. If we go back a few years, all these high streets from big stores have started converting into food, restaurants, entertainment, bars. So they're very upmarket. There are things happening there. There's a lot of leisure thing happening. So I would say this whole concept will start falling into the malls too, where your malls will have to be updated, niche, sexy, and things are happening there. Evening crowd is coming in there, spending all kind of superior times, my own kind of time with my own kind of people. And there's a huge middle class, 80-odd%. We can't forget that number. And today that 80-odd% has such an aspiration, which is much more than what an upper middle or a rich class would be. And they have the knowledge. And we can only thank e-commerce for creating that indirect advert for us, giving them all the information, products available, so there's a connect there. And as we said, they're eventually going to come back to us and shop, because that's where the feel is, that's where the touch is, that's where the happiness is going to be, and that's where the pride is going to be there. And see. So it's going to be very crisp, it's going to be very fine. That's what I think.
Manoj, do you see any shift in the percentage of categories because of percentage of categories? For example, food was earlier 8 to 10%. Now it is increasing 15 to 18 to 20%. Similarly, earlier the beauty or the salon or spa or gym was tucked away. They are occupying a little more space now because these will become more important for the shopping center. They are frequency builders. So do you see any shift in percentage of categories being accommodated in the mall?
Well, I think in my view, as Shibu and others mentioned very clearly, I think food and entertainment in terms of variety and option is definitely going to take a much, much higher percentage, whether it's 25, 30, 40, whatever. But I'm saying the percentage in general will definitely move ahead.
Sorry, Manoj, for the future, yes. But in the current shift in the mall,
I think current also, if I see malls today, I think everywhere they are having outlets all across at various levels. And a lot of spaces which earlier were for different formats, maybe fashion, maybe books, home, whatever, now are already converting, and a lot many more are planned to convert into food and beverage or maybe cafes or whatever, as well as services, particularly salons and such likes have also started now growing in numbers. Obviously, you cannot have them same as food and beverage, but you have a good number coming in. So if earlier traditionally you had only 1 or 2 salons or a spa, Now maybe they are going to 4, 5, 6 in a particular shopping mall. So I think that is definitely increasing. Maybe also today, I think what is happening is that books and related items which are going out is possibly because, it's not considered good to kind of browse. But if we go back to the earlier stores of the Crosswords of the world when they started, it was a browsing experience and a sit-in store and reading experience side by side. I think that factor, because of various commercial models, has slowly shrunk. And now with the, the e-books, etc., which are coming in, and the fact that you can have a Kindle with maybe 500 books or 1,000 books with you, and you can read at leisure, all that has affected this. But a niche store, a small store, a kiosk store, maybe a store which sells you a variety of e-books with ratings. I mean, maybe those are things which may come in as well.
Actually, I sense that most of us on this side are above 40, except Benu. So, I feel that now we have a peculiar problem, that we are not too old, that we should retire in the next 5 years, but we are not too young that we understand the technology as our 15-year-old or 16-year-old or 18-year-old people, our kids are understanding. So there is definitely, the decision makers may not be in sync with the consumers of the future. The consumers of the future are really, they are on Kindle, they are on iPad, they are on everything. Whereas I have a lot of friends of my age who still go to bookstore, they love reading, they love browsing books, and they love to have a coffee with the book. So I think it's a trend which will definitely change, but it will take some time. In our experience also, Crossword bookstore was a very big bookstore because there was luxury of space, so they were trying to do many things within the store. When we requested them politely and relocated them to a smaller store, so they are producing the same kind of numbers from 1/3 of the space. So there is a great learning that certain categories will reduce and certain categories will increase. And I believe strongly in the beauty category because it's not so easy to take it online. We have approximately 20 offerings within the mall on beauty, and all of them are performing very well. So there is a customer at every level, 250 rupees of lipstick and 2,500 rupees of lipsticks and 3,500 rupees of lipsticks. All of them are selling extremely well. And the best part about beauty is that whenever there's a recession, the sale goes up. It's easiest way to comfort. Venu, you want to add something here?
Yeah, I would like to add many things, in fact. I would like to go back to your first question wherein you were talking about big data, right? So I wanted to put something which is solely my perspective, is we often get confused and get carried away that the footfalls are my customers. I correct myself and I say that footfalls are not my customers, they are meant for my retailers. My customer is my retailer. I have to carefully put that customer in place and look at his needs. So when I am studying that big data of customers, I have to first study my retailer. Contact those relevant customers from the data bank which will feed my Zara's and my M&S. So the data becomes relevant. Otherwise, it is a random data of so many lakhs of people, where are they going? I'm not bothered. My prime concern should be, my marketing things should be woven around my prime customer who is my retailer. Taking example, I have a wonderful marketing head. So when she realized that my Hamleys is not doing well, all her marketing budget was woven around Hamleys till the time Hamleys reached a certain sales figure. It was tucked off in a situation, in a location wherein the customers were not driven. And imagine people would come in my mall and they thought that my summer was sponsored by Hamleys. No, it was sponsored by DLF Place Arcade.
This is between us.
Yeah. But the thing is, because we had realized that my customer is my retailer and I have to drive that many data only. I have to drive families, I have to drive young decision makers and their parents. So my data became very focused. And like you were teaching me the other day, laser beam, focus, cut, and success came out of it. Yogesh, I've learned so much from you. Thank you so much. Now, next, moving
Sorry,
on.
Benu, somebody said the same thing to me that, no, I learned so much from you. And 6 months down the line, he told me that I learned that how not to be from me. So it's very dangerous.
Okay. Okay, so now that is where the big data comes from, and that is how I make my data meaningful to me, because we first study retailers who are my prime customers. Then we are focusing on that data, those loyalty customers, and how have we differentiated? We have floated a loyalty card. So that a customer who is buying above a certain, say 50,000, or becomes my prime loyal customer, so we keep informing them. And so my data, in short, becomes smaller, relevant, and more meaningful. And then, again, you're very right. When we invite, they don't come. So we invite them through the customers. Now coming to this point wherein books are becoming redundant, so we have started investing in bloggers. How will you influence the young mind who is always, I always say that the eyes changes from one screen to the other. TV देखते रहते हैं, फिर मोबाइल देखते रहते हैं, फिर TV देखते रहते हैं, फिर मोबाइल देखते रहते हैं. So it is only their eyes are shifting from one screen to the other. So this is the time you have to influence them through the e-commerce should be your tool. So how? Books, they are not interested in books. They are interested in fashion blogs, makeup blogs. So this time, if you have gone through my magazine, we have invested in bloggers and tried to reach the relevant customers for my prime customers, who is the retailer, through the bloggers. Yeah. So this is how we do.
Yeah, Munish, coming to you, your center has shopping and entertainment, and I think they're equally divided in terms of percentage.
Yeah, we almost there. I'll tell you, the complex situation in shopping centers is that our model technically is B2B stroke B2C. So you actually have to have the whole gamut. Unlike you lease an office space, you don't even ask the guy that, how's your office doing? Take a walk, I don't even care, Here the retailer will come and tell you, the footfall is not coming. And I say, you did not change your fashion. And when I went at 10:30 in the morning, you guys did not put on the AC and the full lights. And they really want to ignore all that. The advantage of analytics is that today when some retailer comes and tells me at GIP that, okay, I'm not doing well, I have data to tell him, okay, the balance 240 are doing well. So I think that's become a big advantage. And retail mall is a stick and carrot theory. I mean, I'm sure the retailers show it to us and we show it back to them. So analytics, I think in that sense, because it's a complex B2B stroke B2C model, you have to take both sides. You have to ensure what is your retailer wants, and trust me, zero rent is the only thing he wants. He doesn't bother what you're doing with the mall. I mean, that's what...
Plus fit out.
Yeah, I mean, I always laugh with them. मैंने कहा बता दो कपड़े भी कहाँ से खरीद के लाके देने, so we'll do that. So that's one aspect of it. I think one thing which we are missing is, when I used to run Ansal Plaza, we used to close our shopping malls at 7:30. And there was the Inspector Raj who used to come and say 7:35 Chalan. And then Sheila Dikshit, the then Chief Minister, said, okay, we'll open till 11. Today, we are still not using that. I think where our challenge is where we...
Hello? Yeah.
No, so I think, so we have to increase the number of hours of our operations. Because, I don't know whether it will work or not, but I think that's a chance which we would like to take. So we are at Noida, at least, and Rohini now, two projects, because we've got huge lakes and all. We are starting with a jogger's track. So we want people to come in the morning. And I've spoken to Mr. Kishore Biani, and he's doing a morning bazaar for us. Now, if you still remember, all the people on the panel, where do you buy the early morning egg and bread from? The place where you go for your walk. That is still a segment which none of us, as a mall operator, has got into that. If you want to repair your shoe, I know you have a shoe repair shop. Now, a lot of malls are having it. But I'm saying these are small things. You'll have to get into that small utilization. Why don't we have a Shani Bazaar? All the markets in the world have that weekend bazaar. So I think you have to look how more things can you use out of your shopping mall.
Just one thing. Just one thing, Yogesh. When you said,
you're still in India, sir, and trust me, out of 100 rupees, we earn 20 rupees we store in a stockyard we never used rest of our life. So that's what we are. And let's not forget that we are Indians. It'll take a couple of years that we become Americans. I really want that.
I mean, there's customer at all levels.
Yogi, there's one thing which all mall developers should look at is opening the beauty parlors at 7.
Yeah, we also realized this, that the shopping centers were shutting down at 7:30, 8 o'clock. So, and the rentals are for 24 hours. How to extend the number of hours, operating hours? So we started experimenting till 11 o'clock, and it really worked. Up to 11 o'clock, it really worked, because the food joints were already operating till 12:30. So the customer is already there. Why to have shut shops in between and the cinema is anyway, the last show finishes at 2:45. And then we have a mixed-use development, the hotel is 24 hours. So there's a customer, and I think we are all time poor, other than the money poor, poverty, we are time poor more these days. And we really need time, and it really helped. We saw a change that people who are working, they should not spend their Sunday in shopping. No, they have other things to do. So because of shopping center shutting down early, everything was shifting to the Sunday. But now there is a possibility of coming back from work and coming to a shopping center and then having a cup of coffee or talking to your fighting wife or husband. I mean, there are many possibilities of coming back to the shopping center. So, Rajendra,
Yogeshwar, no, I have a small point. Another thing which we don't focus on is that both for Benu and Yogeshwar, sir, actually they need to like that they're running 2 malls and there are 4 lying vacant around them. You'll have to start thinking, also overall approach. Today, if you ask your promoter that do you want to do a new shopping mall, the answer is no. So we have to also focus on, there is a lot of this thing, like last month somebody gave some Outlook business did a story, malls are dead, and he took me, and if you go through those interviews, out of the 10 malls, 8 were rocking.
Yeah.
And the 2 malls, and I said, why have you done the cover story that the malls are dead? So I'm saying, one will have to focus, as an industry, we have to focus on malls which for whatever reason, you say strata sale is an issue, the whole of the high streets in this country are strata sales. So I think we'll have to focus. I mean, why don't you go and pick up the whole mall on rent behind your mall? I mean, these are things which probably need, and imagine that if you go any mall on a weekend, there is a parking issue. If nothing else, buy over there parking. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know.
Yeah. Good
it
idea.
might not be as much numbers as what it is for you right now, but then as an industry leader, is it not your job to ensure that also the malls at the back, and the 4 malls, they're not less. There are 4 malls in the Saket city center.
4.5. I mean, there's a half behind.
Okay. 4.5, which he never keeps them vacant, I know that. So I'm saying, also as an industry, we should focus in wherever we are operating. I mean, whether it's the Lulu Mall, wonderful mall, but why don't you focus that there is a mall in the city that is not doing well? I think anybody coming to you and saying, I want space, and if you don't have, you should open up that. I think that's another concern. I've been telling this on the forums earlier, that we'll have to unite and make a body. I think Amitabh should do that. Okay, these are the bad malls, let's focus them. Let somebody like a Pranay Sinha take them over and get them leased. At least this stigma of industry, the malls have started doing bad. I think it's an extreme negative, because today the developer, as Unitech, he says, yaar, ye 8-9 plot saste mein mile hue the, isme to kar lo. If you want to buy a new plot and do a shopping center, sorry.
See, what I have is, I completely disagree to what all we are saying.
Lovely. So give us a new viewpoint.
We are all thinking very, very routine.
Okay.
We're not actually thinking the way, where you rightly said you're all 40. We have to think like 15 years old.
Yeah.
Because that's where the future is.
But it's very difficult.
No, it's not
very
difficult. No, trust me, it's not difficult.
Okay.
It's the thinking which makes all the difference.
Yeah.
See, today we are saying whether malls will survive. It's a big question everybody is asking. Yeah. And you were mentioning big data and all those things, new e-commerce waves, how they are proliferating our business. Are we doing really anything to keep them at bay as malls?
Yeah.
Are we really taking those concrete steps to ensure that we remain relevant and successful 5 years, 10 years down the line?
Yeah.
Look what these other people, new entrants, are doing.
But
What really they are doing? Yeah. They are spending a few hundred rupees for customer acquisition.
Yeah.
and they're burning that money.
250 rupees each.
Correct. So are we even spending 25 rupees to acquire a customer as malls? Unless we change, I don't think we can see that future, what we are wanting all of us to see that. We spend 500 crores in building an asset. Are we spending that 50 crores which is required to get that IT in place, which is the future? I think that is what is very, very important for all of us. Unless we start investing for future, we'll all die.
Yeah. So that's why we're debating that.
It is very, very important that, all malls really start investing in technology. Whether we like it or not, but that's the future. If we don't do it, somebody will overtake us and they will ensure that we all die. And the only solution as of now, apart from what all we have discussed, these are all finer points of business. But the real catch is that big data and that, Internet of Things and that KYC, what is all prevalent, which is taking the forefront of everything. We are very happy that we are doing this on Facebook, we are doing this on Twitter, we are doing this with bloggers, and I am doing this event. I don't think they will bring a material change. Yeah. What material change will bring is this investment into technology.
Sure.
I think it's very important that all malls really come up and find a way out how investing in technology can help the future.
Lovely. Now, standing still in any business or as a human being is not an option. No, standing still has never been an option. Either you lead, you follow, or get out of the way. You can't be in the middle somewhere. Sunil, you want to add something here?
Yeah, like what we've been discussing, my point of view is that, like you said, data. I think data and technology is very important. What is important is how can we keep it simple? What is it that I want? There's lots of data. What does my customer want? I want a customer to be happy. I want him to have touch points. So for example, like Rajendra said, that we should invest in technology. I think how many malls invest in parking sensors? I think it's very basic. You invest that, it's ease of finding your space in the mall. When I go up to the mall, do I have ample of common area to walk around? At Orion, when I was there at Orion, what we had done, we said to enhance the customer experience, we will not have any sound when there is any event going on. Because the mall is for the shoppers. The mall is not for the promotions that we do there. That's an additional income. So what is the thought process that we take on what do we want to give the customer? So we as a community have to think, is that SOH income important or the experience with the retailer will give me revenue share higher, which is more than what I will earn through promotions. So many malls in Mumbai I visited have disposable plates in food court. Like he said, in Singapore they go out, you will not have kitchens. When he comes to your mall, would he want to eat in a disposable plate or should he provide cutlery? I think these are the finer things of experience when he comes to the mall. What is that I can differentiate from everybody else when he comes to me? And what is it that I can give to him? Is what he will go back and say, I get convenience here, this is where I should go. This is where I feel happy. I don't get disturbed while shopping. I get good cutlery. I can eat like I'm eating at home. I can park easily. I think these are the things, the more simple you keep it, the more you will be able to take on people. So we have to think of basics and not think too much out of the box and say, how do we ensure basics are in place and have some finer add-ons? I think is what we should look at.
Yeah, just to add, Rajendra, what you mentioned, this debate is not there that malls will survive or not. Malls are going to survive for long times, all times to come. And we have learned from our challenges in the past. Most of us have been fighting those challenges we have come to. And now there's a fair amount of learning. There's a fair amount of learning. And India as a country has behaved differently in every situation, a lot of people used to compare us with China and other countries, but we are different. And even international players will come, they are required, they have a lot more experience, but they need people like you and us to understand India and provide a solution, provide a shopping center which is relevant to Indians to a particular catchment. So customization will definitely be in our hands, not in their hands. They can only come with some learning, with some technology.
I think it's very important to understand that when we started malls, so what did you do? You ran out of the country, the first mall you saw, you came back, you replicated. Malls in America, in all the food courts, they have no branded food. Now, in Indian food court, you don't put a KFC, Pizza Hut, you're dead. Okay, so it depends who you are catering the mall to. You go to Thailand, all the malls which are in Sukhumvit and all, they're made for tourists. So you're never going to make a mall like that. You can copy the mortar, the cement, but you'll go to a, I think in the last couple of years we've had the guy from IKEA come, Mega Bangna, okay? You'll create something like that because our malls are created for our people. No tourists are going to come. Our tourists are going to come from, since nobody ever mentioned Calcutta because you mentioned every other city, I'm holding you now. We belong to Bangladesh now.
Okay, Park Street.
So, there are a lot of these things which we are also, have to be careful of. And we have learned that we are going to make malls for ourselves, our kids, and everybody's traveling internationally, but, these things become very important. I was in Delhi, I want to share this with you all, and this to me is the biggest turnaround story. It was so brilliant. I went to Connaught Place, and the turnaround of Connaught Place is something which has to be recorded by images and do a story on. Because I've been going there since I was a kid, and and retail to food used to be 80-20, retail and food 20. I can guarantee you now that retail is 20 and food is 80. And you can see with the metro coming into from all the different parts, that has become such a happening place. It was so brilliant to see it in the evening, lakhs of people coming. But it shows you how people are changing, what their aspirations, what they're going to do. So, these are very, very important things. With all the technology and all the data we put it'll become paralysis by analysis. Get the people in, get it fresh. It's a live space. Remember, your mall is a live space. And it's a human element. We do everything, it's a people-oriented business. So however much we might live in cyber world, eventually you still have to come and eat food and go to the toilet. So keep that clean and keep your food courts running.
Did you notice the Indian flag there?
Brilliant. I tell you, it's the largest flag. And it was so nice to see the flag. And it was really funny because I told Mr. Sen, my boss, I said, sir, the wind was blowing and it's such a huge flag, it actually goes in slow motion, and it was so brilliant to see it. You really feel that, okay, we are now Calcutta, we are part of India.
So, a little bit of effort on NDMC's part and see the life has come back, people have come back. The Rahagiri on Saturday and Sunday mornings is huge. Sunday mornings, 6 o'clock onwards, huge traffic. No traffic, only human traffic, with the people.
We're doing that in Park Street also. Every day they block off the street and they made the whole Park Street again, a place for you. See, these are all community, whatever they're doing for stickiness.
Sanjeev, you wanted to add something here?
Yeah, this is more back of the house, since we are all mall managers. I think when today the thought is as a value for a customer, what is in it for me? Am I getting a good price? Because I do search, I do research, I look at price factor, then I go to a mall and all. I think as mall operators, we might want to look at our operating costs so that yearly, the so-called CAM and other expenses which keep on going higher, which are a big expense for the partners who are with, those are the retailers. I think we need to look at efficiencies in energy, in manpower and all that. It wouldn't be a bad idea to spend some time on that sometime.
Sure.
Something I would like to add where Manish was there and now he has also raised, because cost plays a very important role. And most of the decisions finally land on the balance sheet. So we should also look at sharing resources.
With retailers?
With all of us.
All of us as a...
Yeah, a pool, a knowledge bank, a knowledge pool, which is a very much required thing now.
Actually, there's no formal get together, but I mean, we are thankful to Amitabh and his team and Images, because Munish keeps me calling. I don't pick up his call in Delhi, but we are able to chat here and discuss things.
I'm talking with accountability.
Sorry?
I'm talking, sharing resource with some accountability on that resource. It's not just throwing ideas.
He's accountable to me, I'm sure.
Yeah. Sunil.
I think the point on CAM that is made, I think the outlook for the industry on the CAM is, this is the number, this is what you have to do it in. Then even if you want to do a great experience in a shopping center, I think you get restricted. I think the thought process for CAM has to be changed into how can you add value to the customer. If the customer finds an experience and if there's a value added, business will come. If we compromise on those small things for that 1 or 2 rupee, I think that is something everybody on the table as an industry has to sit down and say, CAM is to add value, it is for the customers. If we don't spend now and if we try to save and we say in that, then you cannot do a better thing. In the long run, the customer will not come because he doesn't see the experience. He says, was there saving, one staff is less here, one light is less there. Sure. It is difficult in that CAM. So I think we need to understand how do we utilize CAM to the best possible way and talk to the retailer and say, this is how it has to be used, this is what is there. You have to be in with us for 2 years, 3 years, it doesn't come immediately, but boss, this is how the mall is and this is how I will give the experience to a customer. Otherwise, if we don't do, you're crying for 1 year, after 3 years, all of us will cry together.
Yeah, but Manu, yesterday there were a lot of speakers who mentioned that building a mall is a different business and running and operating and managing a mall is totally different business. So CAM, to my mind, is apportionment of costs. And when there is mismatch of expectations, the problem happens. So if we have a business plan properly made and the developer also takes on that apportionment to some extent as part of the cost, so it becomes happy and healthy for everyone. So it's apportionment of cost.
It's very important to have the guy who's going to run the center actually be part of making the mall. Because then whatever you use, you are efficiently going to say, listen, it's going to cost me more on CAM, so please don't put this. If you put, like somebody said, bronze railing, you know what I mean? You're asking for trouble, you know? You're asking for a retailer to come and smack you on the face. That, you know, what the hell are you doing? Why do you need to do it? But also, having gone from the mall, now our mall today might have a very high CAM. But the retailer has understood that's the experience the customer wants. And he says, yeah, lay off. And I think now it is pretty much clear, everybody discusses it here.
I think in Mumbai, initiative with Shopping Center Association of India, when I was there in Mumbai managing Oberoi, was all the mall managers in Mumbai used to come together once in a month or twice in a month, and we used to meet and share our ideas and obviously discuss all the issues. Currently, I think the issues which have been discussed is the increase in security cost and also some input taxes in the electricity. So I think that forum is very active in Mumbai, but I don't know if other places in Delhi and other places. Second thing, with respect to CAM, I believe earlier there was an issue with, but I believe now with expectations and retailers also learning in the last 10 years that if you need to get customers and you need to manage a mall like a 5-star hotel, then you need to have certain amenities and you have to give some service. But I also feel that the moment spends per square feet are maintained, no one is worried about the cost.
Yeah, Munish, anything to add here? Or I think we're done.
I don't follow CAM, in that sense. I believe in that theory, hai khuda kharcha badega to aamad nahi badegi. I think you have to do, today the customer coming into your property is fairly exposed because of the television and because he's traveling so much abroad than he was doing earlier. I think you have to do the best. CAM is just one cost. I always say CAM and rent, if we keep on focusing, and retailers who start focusing on this beyond a point are doing better. So I think if the rent revenue ratio is a little haywire, but the volumes are achieving, and your total, the rent revenue ratio might be a little higher, say in Select City Walk, but overall they're making more money than they would be doing in another property. I think it definitely makes more sense. Focus should be on how the business has to increase, how the overall scenario of, and I'm time and again I repeat this because shopping mall, the new shopping mall development is dying. I mean, if you ask the architects who are here, who are trying to find new business, it is dying very fast. Today, if you want to buy a plot of land in a CBD area where the FSI cost will not be less than maybe 3,000-4,000 rupees, and the kind of rental expectation which people, retailers want to offer, trust me, you can't do a shopping mall. So it is becoming challenging by the day. So I think the focus should be to how do better infrastructure, how do number of parkings and management of parking systems, that what somebody said. I think these things are more focused than cost. If money is coming, trust me, none of the retailers have problems in paying. And if I am as a customer, I'm entering, and if I'm enjoying my experience, I don't mind paying 100 rupees for the parking.
Yeah. So I mean, as Sanjeev mentioned, that most of the end usage has to be kept in mind before you start planning. You know, one of the reasons we are slightly doing better in City Walk is that Pranay, who was having an architect as education and had leasing experience, so he came on board along with the plot. I mean, immediately after we bought the plot. So many decisions were taken rightly that, okay, the sight lines are important, and who is the customer who's going to come. So many times I have come across developers that they want to build a mall, and the moment the mall is built, they feel the job is over. But in fact, the job starts from that day. So keeping the end consumer and the end of the story in mind, if you start working backwards, then there are no surprises, because anything which comes as a surprise to us as human beings, negative, or especially in the cost terms, this is very, very painful. No? We feel very saddened. But if it is already planned, it's an informed call, then nothing is a problem. No? So one last 2020, 5 years from here, we'll see more shopping center coming up, because I sense, it's my personal observation, that I sense an undercurrent that there were no shopping center being built over last some years, but now I see a change. There are people who are willing to invest. They know the game better now. We are fully informed. We have trained manpower, people who understand this business, people who have learned from the challenges we had in the past. Now we are willing to again take a dive into this business and create many more shopping centers. One mistake which most of us have done, like in our case, anybody and everybody wanted to build City Walk. And we know that if we shift City Walk 5 kilometers here and there, it may collapse. No? Each shopping center has to be made according to the catchment area, the consumer in mind. There's no cut, copy, paste. Even if you go to any tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, the consumer is different in their spending habits, their social habits, everything is different. So instead of trying to copy like Dubai Mall is built only on, travel and tourism. No? In India, we are building shopping centers for consumers who are living, neighborhood centers. So there's so much to do. And I sense an undercurrent that there are shopping centers being built. At least on the planning stage, people have started talking. Even the funding is an issue, but international players are willing to coming with the money, and they are looking at the sites. And in some years, 2 to 3 years, I believe that there will be more shopping centers. Yeah? Anybody disagrees or wants to add?
I completely agree. Shopping centers will thrive, and we will see more shopping centers. In fact, we are going to launch 2 more. Which are going to open, one Palladium in Chennai, which is expected to open.
Lovely.
One Paragon Plaza in Kurla, we are opening. And this new government with the REITs really becoming a reality now, there will be a huge amount of money which will be available, which people will invest with all their learnings into new shopping centers. So I completely agree that new shopping centers will come by.
Yeah, thank you. Shibu?
Yeah,
last
I think Lulu definitely is looking to we have already got 3 parcels of land, and I think in the next 5 years, 1 or maximum 2, we will definitely add.
Yeah, Munish, you are already building.
One thing I would like to add, new shopping centers will come. There is no stop. Inshallah, it will happen. Only thing is the farm has to be it has to evolve. We have to look at that there is only one person on the driving seat. Imagine you're driving a car where somebody else is driving, somebody else is in charge of the brake, and somebody else is in charge of putting the side buttons, ki ye left jayega, ki right jayega, and somebody is saying, stop, stop, samne se truck aa raha hai. It is not possible. So even if you sell them all, the rights should be with only one person. Then and only then will a collective decisions be taken place, and there will be successful shopping malls. The shopping malls who have failed are only those when they have too many heads controlling. Ye wala koi bhi lease kar raha hai, wo wala koi bhi lease kar raha hai. It is something like that. Only then it would be.
Yeah. So somebody has said that fail faster, fail frequently, and fail forward. So I mean, we have enough, no? Six Fs. Manoj, you want to add something? Or
yeah, I think there's no dispute of the fact that malls will definitely be prospering, growing, and also in numbers as well as in their evolution as far as the content of the mall goes. The only thing is that possibly at one stage malls were just being opened on a more random basis. Like for example, if you see the Pune story, or you see some other cities, suddenly, like if you see micro markets like Whitefield, suddenly everyone got this imagination to open in one area. Probably that is something which will change. So the numbers will come, but they will not come in like micro markets, same micro markets. People will do this catchment analysis, will do analysis of how are the channels to access the mall, etc., and then open. So possibly the disasters which have happened in a few places in the past will not happen now, but the numbers will definitely come.
I think also the municipal laws now do not allow you to open multiple malls. There's definitely going to be a percentage of retail which has to coincide with residential and etc. so that people don't have to drive 20 miles, etc. to do it. And also the bloodbath that we're going to, we are watching in other places. So I think it's very important to have that control. And at least in Calcutta, I know the municipal corporation is very strict about it.
So we have some time, 5-10 minutes, if anybody has any. So the difficult one, Abhishek. Huh?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I've been listening to various talks we've been having since yesterday, and you are all managing very successful centers across the country, very able managers. One thing that didn't come up in your discussion, and that guy is somewhat important in the whole business, is the guy who's developing the center, the owner, the builder. How much, when you're managing your center and when you're thinking about CAM and you're thinking about more footfall, how much time do you spend on thinking about increasing the ROI for the owner? It's one thing to say that the mall is doing well. It's one thing to say that the ROI will increase. Agar mall acha chalega, to ROI badh jayegi. How much thought do we give to alternative incomes in the center? How much time do we think of the bottom line, the percentage of return he's getting at 18%, 20%, 21%, 16%, 14%? How are we increasing the valuation of the center? And end of the day, if I'm investing as a mall developer, I'm investing for a return, either by rental, which is a percentage, or by exit strategy. So as managers of shopping centers, do you think it is as important that you think of the consumer and the retailer, and you also think of the developer who's in it for either a return on investment or to whenever he sells out at a very, very decent or a good valuation? And bottom line to wahi hai na, tabhi to wo naya center banayega. So I don't know how much time, or are there strategies that you guys are using?
We didn't discuss that because we keep that at the back. Every day it's on our head. So why discuss it? Yeah? Let's discuss what is, if the consumer is coming in, he's spending, and your retailers, that will take care of itself. And I tell you, every single day, that's all we harp on, is how we're going to make more money for you. And that's my only job. And the previous job, I had the 7 biggest Marwadis who were my bosses. Now, of course, I have a gentleman who is a Marwadi, but he never behaves like one. But we think about it every single minute. That's why we don't discuss it. Yeah. Well, I mean, you have a point, but it depends, you know. There are some aspects of it that maybe, you know, business is a private
I
thing
think that
still.
whatever we were talking only was from my perspective only to increase that ROI, trust me.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares? I mean, otherwise I should come and tell all the retailers take a pure revenue share deal from me. I think that is a 24/7 cycle which all of us only focus on. I mean, whatever is happening is only, and all said and done, we, you know, as developers, we also need to understand, especially in leased malls, that slowly over the years, capital value of the property is not related to the rentals. I mean, giving an example of GIP, a shop which is leased at 110 rupees, probably 150 rupees, is getting sold at 40,000 rupees, which originally sold at 15,000 rupees. So what is also happening, you need to appreciate capital value is not increasing by the virtue of, and you, trust me, you don't want to tell me how many times have you increased your value in terms of the land and construction you put in and what the valuation is right now. I think the capital value is not related directly to, you know, I know situations where people now, and I can't take the name, in Delhi, they had a very successful mall. They're vacating the mall now to do office building because as a mall, the valuation, if it's 100 crores, by an office building, it might be 400 crores. So all these things are happening, and I think that's the bottom line which all of us are working on.
I totally agree, because the moment we increase and we concentrate on per square feet increase in sales, that percolate down to a successful mall. A successful mall means you have, my developer back is happy. So it is, all our efforts are to make you happy, sir.
I believe, no, I believe that that's our job. Yeah. Otherwise we will not be sitting here. So if the center has spends per square feet which is very high, that means the center will be obviously 100% occupied. The center manager can command best rentals in the market, and obviously end of the day the bottom line will be very, very good for you.
We didn't want to make you look like the devil. So we take it on us that, you know, we'll hide you at the back, because then the retailers will only be saying you're working for you.
Hi, I have two questions from the mall developer perspective. Since everybody in the dais is from the supply side as a mall developer, I would like to ask, now we all are talking about collecting data of our consumer who are visiting mall, maybe in the neighborhood, and we are burning money through digital marketing to drive the mainly e-commerce tech savvy people who may be shopping online to regularly come to our mall. I'm just looking for a situation like wherein the retailer will create a virtuality in his shop, which he will definitely do it. And since he is unable to keep all the supply and all the variety in his store, and he will showcase all his products through e-commerce, through his website or his applications, and he will book the sale through online. And maybe online sale will provide him a pay later on service, as maybe other apps are providing, and maybe it's maybe a free delivery. Now, most of the retailers are working on revenue share model. Then how do a mall developer gets account for that sale? That is my number one question. Number two question, again, we are burning money to take the traffic in the shopping mall. Why don't we incentivize the customer who is personally visiting by spending some time, maybe for 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, 5 kilometer, he may be coming in a cab, maybe in his own car. He is taking his bet to come to you, to visit your mall. Why don't we incentivize him with the free car parking in case he is buying or eating out something on showing of a receipt? The deficit of car parking from management may be added in the CAM. These are the two questions from the task I have.
I want to take your second question first, because that to me is very, very important. Please do not give anything free. Okay? First of all, I don't believe in giving anything free. As far as car parking is concerned, the money that we make from car parking doesn't even pay for the interest cost of the car parking. So if you actually do it for a developer, and we've worked in all the malls, whatever amount you spend to make the car park, the revenue you make over the year, you don't even cover the interest cost of it. So please, let's not go there. Incentivize him, and if the Shopper Stop wants to incentivize, or Lifestyle wants to incentivize because they paid 3,000, 5,000 rupees and make parking, please do that. But please don't put it on the onus on the developer, because in the end of the day, the developer is going to pass it on to the retailer, and the retailer will eventually put it on the cam, and it's so let's not go there. The first question was too long. I couldn't hear it.
Can I answer both the questions?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, first question is you're saying that about the what if the retailer puts everything on web and sells from the web and increases his sales, and he's on rev share with me, right?
Yes.
If I've understood right.
Yes.
So as the retailer is evolving, understand, if the retailer is evolving, we have to evolve with the retailers. So our agreements need to evolve. He cannot be on the same agreement and do something else. If he's increasing, he is evolving, then the agreements should be woven in. This thing should be, at least then he should exit rev share, and whatever my property is demanding that time, because MGs are lower than the demand of the property. So whatever my developer has spent on that property, maybe 3 times what his MG is, he should agree on, and then he can pay. He can go and sell on the net wherever he wants. Number 2, parking, I totally agree with Sanjeev. Nothing should be given free. Why? It will be abused. It will never be valued. But we want to incentivize every person who shops in the mall. Every good, successful mall incentivizes all the customers who have shopped in their mall by value of points, by value of giving them gift coupons, by again providing some free lunches. So if you go deeper into the marketing strategies of successful malls, you will see that all the good spenders in that mall are always respected and incentivized. Am I right, Yogesh?
Absolutely.
See, we have around 2,500 car park, and we give customers 1 hour free parking. And we have data to say that 18% of our customers use it. But we realize that if you do it more than that, it obviously will not be valued. So what we are doing is more than that for any other customer who wants free parking. Obviously, the loyalty will take care of it. In case you can have loyalty points in that, then you can redeem and get free parking out, and our retailers today are willing to also give free parking. So I believe that is the value proposition we want to give it to the customer. Second point, the first question for you, I believe is the answer is there, that any sales in the mall, the retailer needs to pay us revenue share. Otherwise, the fixed rental cost will go high. So.
Also what happens, sorry to add to what Shibu was saying, that agreement-wise, as you were also mentioning, what people have started doing is trying to make agreements little tighter on the type of offer on the web and in the store. So they're trying to govern that relationship by way of documents so that both businesses can survive, so the online as well as the brick and mortar business.
Yeah. Just to add, I'm in dialogue with a lot of retailers, and there are conflicting situations, scenarios emerging where there is no clear answer. For example, somebody has bought online and trying to return offline. No, he's come to the mall. On the other hand, the customer has come to the store and he couldn't find the right size. So the retailer gave him a iPad, and he bought online. So who should clock it? So there are many, and you have bought online and you are picking it from the store. So who should get the revenue share? So there are conflicting situations which will emerge over a period of time. And the only way is that we have to talk to retailers transparently. And to your second question, there's a misconception that developers make a lot of money in parking. As Sanjeev rightly said, parking is a business model, but it is only covering the operational cost, not the cost of building it. And yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Incentivized parking.
My first question was basically relevance to the e-commerce being, generating more day by day, and I don't know how many of everybody shopping mall owner have covered online sales very correctly in the agreement. So my question was to put it across so that tomorrow the sales, the virtual sales from the store will be equally good. So this is one area one should be looking into it.
Absolutely, very rightly, sir. Anybody else has any question, please?
Hi, this is an interest from the question arises from the discussions between yesterday and today. It's an interesting observation that there seems to be a common agreement that the food business and entertainment is going to grow in all the shopping centers from initially 6% to, shudder to think if it reaches 35%. Now, what we all know, we always are used to the saying that shopping itself is a therapy and hence a form of entertainment. Another important observation in your talks today is that there is a growth in the grooming part in terms of spa, gym, salons and things like that, which really means that people are becoming more and more self-conscious, and therefore it should lead to more buying of clothing and bags and things like that. My question is there a real demand brought about by end consumers for this shift towards more food and entertainment, or is it just because it makes a better commercial sense decision to do? Does it feel like we are giving up on the true retailers, the original retailers, because in India our tastes are so varied, our culture is so varied? Personally, I would think it allows us to bring much more variety shopping in this country with this varied taste than even in the US. That's my question.
Yeah. Anybody from the panel? Manoj?
May I see? I agree that in malls we need to have maximum amount of variety in terms of the offerings, stores, categories, etc. What we are talking of is just a general shift in trends. If you see today, if you read a newspaper, a magazine, a travel magazine, even Economic Times, you will find there is a huge amount of coverage today on food, the way it is cooked, where it is offered, what is being made, what is good for you, what is not so good for you, what you should avoid, how you should, evolve. So the food experience is all around us, and I think if we are true to ourselves, we will see that we are also, as a family, as colleagues in companies, we are discussing food, and we are, being involved with food one hell of a lot, and that has also translated into a higher presence of food on the shopping center shop floor. The only thing in this is that it's a percentage which is changing. Whether it changes and continues to change over the next 20 years is a question mark. But yes, in the short term, in today's time, it is definitely going higher and higher. And I agree with you again, just to reinforce that the variety in a mall has to be as diverse as possible. Of course, that depends on shopping center size and availability of retailers, etc. But I'm saying in general, yes, it should have as diverse a range as possible.
Yeah, I just want to say that...
yeah, in past 10 to 15 years, you've seen Indians have traveled a lot. So that exposure to travel has increased the palate. So when you have tasted Italian, authentic Chinese, Indonesian, other cuisines which were not existing when we were younger, for us it used to be dosa or North Indian or very little variety. So those have to be accommodated. Where will you accommodate? In the malls. Because the ambience is there, the customer with deeper pockets will come to malls and will not go out on the streets, because we are now spoiled person. We want air conditioned, we want clean toilets, we want security for our wives and daughters, so which is where you will head. So as a mall developer, it is a business, it makes business sense to satisfy that need which has risen in the society now. So that is how from 10% F&B rose to 20%, and now in Mall of India it is as high as 40%. And I'm sure all of them are going to do well. It is because we have become more exposed, we have explored the world, and we want to taste all. The second reason because of that is also our pocket size has increased. A woman who is studying now in class 10th looks for a career, not for some job in the kitchen that I will marry a young person and roll out chapatis when I'll be 25-year-old. She will also want to go to the office, and she wants to be treated, and she wants to be taken out, and she can afford that. So kitchen sizes will become smaller as in the Western countries, and these cuisines, instead of being catered at home, will be catered outside.
Yeah. So, that great ad we see in the movie, Mutton nahi chilne denge. If you remember that, that obviously that has changed. I want to talk to you about the salon spa thing, because to me that's a very interesting thing. And I'll share with you, women in Southeast Asia, the amount of money that they spend on themselves in grooming, compared to the Indian woman 2 years ago, and I think we did the data about 3 to 4 years ago with L'Oreal, and now is a massive, massive change. But also because of the service industry, you have the girls being trained up at the Pantaloons, the CCDs, the Pizza Huts. You know, it's become a feel-good factor. So the socio-eco change which takes place, which makes you that you have to spend more money on yourself, is a very important aspect about pampering you as far as the, salon and spa thing is concerned. And that's changing. If you see the figures of sales with all the Macs, it's unbelievable. I've never seen sales like that.
Unbelievable.
Just to add to your thing that I'm coming from a destination which is a tourist destination. Now what we used to see that earlier there was a lot of international tourists which used to come to our place, Kerala. Now there is a lot of domestic tourists which is coming. So when we saw that domestic tourists are coming a lot, and our mall being a tourist destination, we had to add a lot of domestic flavors in our food court. So we had to come to Mumbai, we went to a lot of other North Indian places and got a lot of these brands. So this is one reason we had to expand our food. Now, so we have the palette which is tasting them, we also offering them all the varieties. So I think it is the need which makes you add more and more and more.
Yeah. Anybody has any other question? Yeah, he has one.
First of all, I would like to thank Images and Amitabh ji for giving this forum wherein all of us, developers and retailers, and the business center, shopping center managers, they discuss certain aspects of the business. But I feel there are 2 points which are slightly missing here. First of all, nobody talked about an organized forum, because I feel there is still a forum which is missing, which fortunately or unfortunately, the residential sector has done it, like CREDAI, which is not there amongst us. And secondly, if that forum is started, then, we can always go to the state governments and the center to recognize this industry as a proper industry, which is so far missing, to avail certain shops and some discounts, which, because if eventually you get some discounts, you pass it on to your customers, and which eventually will, get you a better bottom line. If I remember 6 or 7 years back when Mr. Kalkar used to be my boss, Arvind Nair started one initiative with CII, and he was doing in those lines with CII, but somehow it got missed somewhere. So just need your comment on that.
There was a body which was formed called Shopping Center Association of India. That body, we are all members of that body. It also had initiated a couple of things for us. The service tax issue was one of it. I'm sure, I know that the body is not very active, but I believe that if all of us again start talking to people who are representing that, things will work. But there is a body which was formed almost 4 years back.
No, and Sky is actually doing a lot of work. All those who are involved with Sky would perhaps know that in the back end they are working a lot. In fact, we are very actively engaging Sky for many challenges that we face from the various authorities to how to change to make it more useful. So one of the major changes, with the help of Sky, which has happened in Maharashtra, is now the entire retail sector is open for 365 days. There is no, earlier Maharashtra had, say, 1 day off everywhere, weekly off for retail also, including malls, so which was a big challenge. Now I think it's all 365 days, which Sky and a lot of other people have helped, but Sky was instrumental. Sky has also helped us in getting the timing extended for retail. Now the timings are till 10 p.m. officially, with women also working late till almost 9:30 p.m., which helps a lot for retail. So it's official time with this help we are doing. There are a lot of help we are taking from Sky for doing the tariffs through MERC, that is the Maharashtra Electricity Board, for electricity duties and all those things. So they are actively involved in lot many things. Power, which, you know, what for the malls, power is a big cost. They're helping a lot in a big way, at least in Maharashtra, for doing lot many things of including alternate power sources, getting all those tariffs rectified. A lot of things they're helping us in doing it. They're, you know, of course, but I'm saying on these larger issues, Sky is helping us a lot. I don't know about how it is happening maybe in Calcutta or Bangalore or Chennai, but at least from Mumbai I know, because I'm actively involved in all these things and they're helping us a lot.
It's a region-based thing, because we've got it.
The Sky is a national body.
Yeah.
It depends on who approaches and how somebody makes use of them.
This is available. How much you use of it, I mean, it's up to us.
I think the big thing is actually getting it the status of industry. And I think it's a very, very tough job, but I know that the last 2-3 the people who have been part of this have been forcing this issue. Of course, we employ not less than 2,500-3,000 people in the mall, and maybe indirectly about 4,500-5,000 people. So which industry employs that? And Mr. Modi's campaign of Make in India, Made in India, if that has to have a front, the end place for every product is retail. So eventually, if you do not have that as an industry, it is going to rebound. So I think they are talking out there, they are keeping it. It's, there are a lot of people who have vested interests of not allowing that to happen. But I think in the future, you will see that it will ease itself out. It's a logical conclusion, so there's no other reason why not.
So with this, we'll come to an end of this session, and really want to thank all of you here and there as well. I have a sense that a lot of new shopping centers will be built in next 3-4 years. They are already on the planning stage. We will witness them in some time. Only thing we have to remember that any advantage we have, as I mentioned yesterday, any advantage we have today is transient. The advantages will keep changing, but shopping centers will continue to grow in numbers, for sure. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sanjeev, Shibu, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you.